What's up guys, Corpse here. So in this video I have a basic healer's guide for MoP. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now the first thing you're going to be aware of is your positioning. Obviously it's not as important as it used to be with all the instant CC now. A lot of it doesn't need to be casted anymore, so it's going to land whether you want it to or not. You can't really do anything to avoid it. With that being said, you still have to try and avoid what you can, obviously. Playing off the pillar, just healing and then coming out in and out. Now, with your positioning, you're going to want to be able to help your team play offensively. What I mean by this is be able to keep them topped, dispelled. They don't have to worry about getting gibbed. They're always fine. You're in a good spot to where if they have to get out, they can line with you or be near you. You just have to help your teammates be able to, so they can keep doing pressure, not have to pull back because you're not in a good spot. Now, the next part of that is playing offensively yourself and joining in the offense. What I mean by this is, cross CCing so that they can't peel or they can't heal and help whatever you're on. Or if you're even doing damage, you have to know when you need to stop and start helping your team again. Or even just tell your team, I'm doing this, so you need to watch yourself, type thing. Now, another important thing that I think kind of changed mostly this expansion, because pretty much every healer has CC now, is I think it's important for the healer to help organize the CC. Most of the time, the game isn't too intense, so you can be healing and be organizing the CC and asking your teammates for this or that, and then telling them when you can do something. So it's really helpful and it helps keep the team organized so you're not stacking CC or not wasting cooldowns that way. The last thing with CC is being aware that you don't always have to chain CC on one target. Sometimes it's a lot better choice to be CCing two different targets. Maybe if DRs are a little off and you can fear this and then poly something, or even just to avoid a mass dispel or off heals from something on the kill. Just CCing the healer isn't always the best option. Spreading it out is good also in a lot of situations. Okay, so the next thing is communication. Now, communication is probably the most key thing in Arena. I would say good communication is what makes a difference between the good teams and just the average to above average teams. Letting your partners know what's happening to you and if heals aren't coming and if they need to pop their own cooldowns is all really important. Another thing I personally like to do with this is telling my team what CC is probably going to happen to me. Obviously I can't always be getting it right, but when you see a priest running straight at you from across the map while you're in a poly, you can be giving your team the heads up, like, if you can stop the priest, I can get away from the fear and avoid CC and help us all out. Another thing with that, though, is that they can't always stop the first one. Sometimes cooldowns are coming up and stuff just happens, so it's being able to tell them multiple CCs that are coming and telling them this is doing that to me I think it's really useful, and a lot of times your teammates, after playing with you for a while, will start just knowing that you need this when you say whatever words, and it just helps the team all around. Next is being vocal with your dispels. Now, what I mean by this is letting your teammates know right away if you can or can't get them. A lot of classes need to know so they can trinket right away while cooldowns are up, or while they're chaining and doing their rotation. They need certain uptime, and if you can't get it to them, you need to let them know right away that they have to trinket so you're not wasting time in between. And the last thing with communication is being really vocal with your CC. I would say this is one of my weaker points personally. A lot of times I'll say I'm doing a CC, but I'll already be casting it, so if my partner didn't call it out, either we're stacking CC and we're both wasting DRs, and time that we could have had for more damage we're just losing because we both used an ability at the same time. So it's really important to call it out before you even start to cast it. Just telling your team, like, I'm going to do this in a second, is really good also. Alright, so one of the last major things is cooldown usage. This game to me has literally turned into how each team uses their cooldowns. Wasted cooldowns are one of the biggest reasons you lose games. If your partner used Ice Block when you used Dinesh, you got a 100k heal right when he used his block, so he probably wouldn't have had to, and you both used a cooldown, so now they've used more offensive cooldowns and you're falling behind because they now have more cooldowns than you, and that's how you slowly start to fall behind in the game. So the first thing is trading cooldowns. What I mean by this is you want to try and normally only use cooldowns when someone on the other team is using them also. Obviously, as a healer, you're not using your cooldowns to force other people's. Usually, occasionally that comes up and you do that, but more often than not, you're reacting and you're using a cooldown to counter theirs and keep your team up and not having to use their own, or even telling them they need to use their own cooldown because you're going to save yours or you're going to use yours next. Being really vocal with that and knowing when you need to use the cooldown, or telling your partners, or your partners knowing. Just being really vocal both ways about that is always good. And the last thing with cooldowns is you don't always have to be telling your partners to use their cooldowns, but something I like to do a lot of times is give them a heads up that things are not going as well as they should be, and you're going to take some damage here, or you're going to take a lot of damage, so you should be ready to use a cooldown or use it preemptively even. Just being vocal, again, is a huge part of Arena. Alright guys, that's all I got for this one. So if you're still watching at this point, leave me a comment and let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see next. Peace.